All right, sure. Great. Thank you guys so much for being here. My name is Grace. I'm a reporter at Fast Company, specializing in design and pop culture. I just want to thank everyone who set up the room. It looks gorgeous. I'm excited to partake in the charcuterie. So our topic today is going to be partying like it's 1999, which, first of all, makes me feel like I won the panel lottery. It's an amazing topic. But it's also very culturally relevant. I'm sure many of you have heard these common refrains like gathering is dying or Gen Z isn't partying anymore, which are not broadly true, but there are age, and I think a lot of you guys have perfected sort of conveying your events on social, but that can get really hard when there's so much noise and, other things going on. So I'm wondering if you found a way to break through on social, or what you think followers are looking for in terms of finding events that they want to attend.
If I talk without the mic, can you all hear me? Sorry, I can't hear myself.
It's really hard. Yeah, it's really hard.
Okay, yeah. Can you hear me back there? Okay, great. So we like to plan our events with an experience first perspective. So meaning, yes, brands, when they hire us, they want an Instagrammable moment, because at the end of the day, these VIP events that they host are all about social impressions. However, we found that if we focus on just making an incredible experience, the guests are going to remember that event more so than any other event. And because they're having so much fun and they're very engaged, they're going to naturally take photos and post to socials. And so that to us has really stood out. And I just want to make a comment in general, kind of a plea for why everyone should be hosting more events in this really kind of saturated landscape online. It's, digital ad spends are getting more expensive, but less, you're seeing less conversion on that. And I still truly believe that in-person activations and in-person experiences are what is going to continue to thrive in a digital era. Because when you get a product in front of your customers' hands and they're feeling it, they're touching it, they're experiencing it, that's so much more powerful than anything that you're going to see online, especially as AI slop starts taking over more and more. In real life, experiences are going to be even more important.
What's an example of making an event really fun to bring the social attention to it?
I'll use, we plan all of J. Crew's influencer trips that they've been doing. I don't know if anyone has seen the most recent one in Puglia. But so when we plan an influencer trip, it's not just about let's do a beautiful dinner in Puglia. It's about, okay, what is Puglia known for? What are the pastas they're known for? What is the ceramics that they're known for, and how do we kind of create an experience that is quintessential to that place, right? And so that's us focusing on the experience and not so much focusing on just doing something that's Instagrammable.
Makes sense.
I'll build on that a little bit, because before I started, can you hear me?
No.
Yeah. No? I live far, it works. Before I started Ghia, I was the head of offline experiences at Glossier, and we definitely used to say, there's no, what do they call it? Step and repeat. It was like we hated that. It was like the whole store is a set and the whole place is a set. We wanted people to feel really mesmerized and for the whole experience to be really immersive. And what we realized is we would track our customers, and anyone that had come to an event would become just a super fan. And we were really able to lift the brand experience in the town that we were taking over, and where we were opening a store of a bigger party, because we were really able to kind of build this affinity and trust at the brand level, not just at the product level, which was really the case sort of for beauty. 10 years ago, it was allure, best of beauty, hero product, this or that. But once we had people in the Glossier event, they just became super fans of the brand in general. And so that's something that really stuck with me. I think that having things are really integrated, and we've had Fair Shen for some Ghia parties before, and they were just amazing. People in LA dancing, which is really rare.
I mean, it's interesting because the difficult thing about an event is that, from a marketing perspective, is that it is so much more expensive per guest than running a CPC ad. So it's not super scalable. So you do have to obviously have that amplification. Otherwise, the tree fell in the woods and nobody heard it. But I think it's really interesting that you can take a much more subtle approach to gaining amplification instead of like battering people over the head with like a hashtag and a censorship, which I guess we don't do anymore.
I in like a very practical sense, whenever I host events, we make sure we have a photographer who can get images back within 24 hours that we can send. Yeah. And then we send that email to everyone and they know, I can put my phone down, I'm going to get a gorgeous photo of myself, and I can really be in the moment and turning it around fast.
Yeah, I'm curious, Erika, if you could tell us a little bit more about how you leverage your own personal voice and brand to attract people to EV Salon. I feel like that's a unique perspective in terms of how you reach your audience, like sort of woman.
Well, I use Paperless Post to do it. I think my invites all sound like something I would say in real life. Like, I'm not using language like, let's gather together and share a cocktail. It's like, let's come and chat and connect. And I'm at the helm of all these events, and so people show up, and if they're nervous to show up without a +1, they know me, so they can come up to me, and I think it gives a really personable feeling to brands that might otherwise be a little aloof or hard to connect with.
As I sort of mentioned in my intro, I feel like there's maybe been a little bit, I don't know if it's fear-mongering, but just ideas about how Gen Z is a lot less into partying, gathering compared to other generations. I'm wondering if you guys have actually seen any generational differences play out in how people are interacting with gatherings and how you address that.
I mean, I'm cusp, so I have a lot of friends as both millennial and Gen Z, people groups, and I think Gen Z is more likely to not respond to the invite than a lot of my millennial event goers will RSVP and no. That can be important, but that's not interesting.
So I'm very much a millennial. I think the difference between the age groups is just people's affinity towards food. My background is in the food industry, and when I first started at Momofuku, which was my big restaurant job, none of my peers were into food, and now fast forward 10, 15 years later, everyone is obsessed with food, and I see like a lot of Gen Z folks, wearing restaurant merch and belonging to supper clubs and throwing dinner parties and being very focused on that, which that's a new thing. So thankfully for us, now that we produce events, brands really want a big name chef attached to their event, and that's been a big shift. Whereas like I think 10, 15 years ago it was like about a big DJ, and now you need a big DJ and you also need a big chef at your event.
I would say on our end, I mean, we started Paperless Post in 2009, so it's a pretty millennial-rooted product. And obviously now we're sourcing users that are younger, that are coming of age, that have their own spaces, to have events that are like very Gen Z. And it's interesting to see a whole new crop of reasons to get together that were not around when we started in 2009. People are having like parties where they're sharing their favorite things, or they're having supper clubs where they're getting together with people that they don't necessarily know, and they're getting together for the sake of meeting people in their neighborhood or who are like-minded or who have interests in the same literature that they do, like book clubs, and a lot more kind of inventive general entertaining events than we are code.
Yeah, no, I was fascinated by that. I feel like in my personal group, there's less general parties and more so like come to my house for girls, charcuterie, and book club.
Yeah.
It's like a combination of things. You guys have seen that play out live, right?
Yeah.
Say anything about the kind of.
No, it's really fascinating to see. We make these invites for like a party where people bring their favorite thing and tell people about it, and then show it to their friends, and that people are really using it, and it's a whole different kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. I want to go to Melanie with another trend question because we've chatted about how Gen Z is drinking less, but so are actually most generations in the US. And so I'm curious if there's anything you would say to brands or people hosting gatherings about maybe how this is not necessarily signaling the doom of partying, but actually an opportunity for a different fun gather.
Definitely. We were just talking before the panel, and I shared the stat that 90% of Ghia's customer identifies as a drinker, and it's just seeking moderation. So first of all, it's not just a drink for people who don't want to drink, but also what we're seeing is that our customers are a lot more cross-generational than we think. I think that Gen Z are the first generation to sort of like come into the partying scene with non-alcoholic drinks at the bar, for sure. But in general, you know, we actually have a big chunk of our customer who are boomers and love to make a cocktail. They love to order a bottle and they call it a mocktail and they order it on Amazon. Definitely, that's real. They're on TikTok. They're mocktail babes, mocktail moms. You know, like they exist and they're loud voices actually. So it's quite interesting. I'm happy that we have a diverse customer base, but there's just so many reasons in different stages of life for not drinking, and you know, obviously. A lot of people discover us when they get pregnant, and their husbands discover us when they get pregnant. But you know, in general, I think it's not just Gen Z for sure. There's just more information overall about how there's just no amount of alcohol that's good for you, and I think we're just working to like decondition people from thinking that alcohol is the life of the party, and just you know the fact that you're the life of the party and your drink is just a catalyst for the party.
Yeah, I'm curious, or maybe Erika or Sue, from the hosting and planning perspective, how you take this changing drinking culture into account just to make sure that you're having accessible events for every type of person who might be attending, however they see health for society.
Yeah, I don't drink. So it's really as simple as making sure we have Ghia or other like great non-alcohol options, and then like mainly. But mostly Ghia. When we host events at brands, sometimes they're like, do we need a signature cocktail? And then what I found from hosting a lot of salons, like the drinks aren't the reason why people come. So we're generally comfortable with like a few wines and like a decent bar, but when we started, I was like, oh, we can't make a dirty martini, we'll get disappointed, and that's not been our experience.
Yeah, I said that. We've just made it a standard that at any of our events we always have a non-alcoholic option. Yeah, and maybe even a couple of non-alcoholic options depending on the clientele.
So, broader question, but I'm curious for all of you if there's something happening in the gathering or party space that's exciting to you right now, any trends that are emerging that you think are fascinating. No one?
I'm trying to think.
I would go to a PowerPoint party. I've not had my 91, but I'm very curious.
We have
Yeah.
with foodies it's a party where, and I've never been doing it, so I'm not very good. It's someone who I grew up with the Microsoft Office suite and like a desktop computer. I don't think PowerPoint was like a huge or like I think it is a lot of work, but I think for a generation of people who like PowerPoint is like a funny idea, and it's these PowerPoint parties are where you make a presentation about something that you know a lot about, and you actually like educate your friends about something that you're an expert on. Yeah. You think that's one? Yeah. Okay.
I have so many questions about that, but we can talk about that after. I love seeing events with some sort of activity. I've been seeing lots of like trivia nights that brands are doing. I think a lot of people always do, as my team calls it, a hot girl dinner, right? It's like cocktail hour followed by dinner with all these influencers. But I think when there's an activity involved, it's really fun and it's memorable, and that's that to me is experience first producing, where you're kind of adding an extra flair of either hospitality or something that is interactive that allows you to connect with other people.
Two things. I feel like since I was 20 years old, I've been trying to like make New York City a breakfast city, and it's just never a breakfast city. There's not that many places to get breakfast. I love the power of breakfast. It takes off the pressure from the evening. Moms can come after school drop off. I like the food. It's simple, but it's really hard. Mainly because a few chefs have explained to me that to have a strong breakfast program, you need 2 managers, and it's just becomes too expensive. But very strong kind of like breakfast person when it's a nice way to start your day. I also think that people are just gathering around wellness more. There's so many bath houses opening in New York, and then, well, I'll have a step in one of them, and happy to make people happy. There's, paddle clubs opening, around movie bars. I think that, I don't remember my mom ever going on walks as much as I go on walks with my girlfriend, but that's definitely a thing. I think we're on the computer so much more, so it's like, hey, let's get a slice of Lucia and go on the West Side Highway walk. And it's just like that's actually kind of nice for the fluidity of gathering in general.
Well, guilty as charged, I did attend a PowerPoint party when we learned about shipwrecks, so that very generational. This has been such a great chat. I do want to leave some time to open the floor for questions from the audience. So if there are any questions, I'd love to ask them.
What's the party you wish you'd thrown?
Party you wish you'd thrown.
It's definitely referenced a lot, so it feels a little bit cliche to say, but Studio 54 and that whole era and what it represented in culture really resonates with me. I mean, that was a time when New York was not doing well, and so the subculture kind of all came together and would go out, and you had people of all different backgrounds, sexual orientations, diverse groups of people kind of gathering together, and all that mattered was that they were all dancing to incredible music, and that was something really beautiful that was happening in an era where there's a lot more segregation than now.
That's a good one. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know if I need it. Hey, I'm Alonzi from Los Angeles. I think that a lot of people don't know what to do at all. Most people are spending their times on their phones, whether you're a couple or friends, and they're scrolling and they're playing video games. I don't think they know like where to start with the party. So I'm just kind of curious with different platforms that you have, like what's something that can be done in this industry to get people excited to want to throw a little gathering, feel comfortable knowing what to do, because it's typically led by the host. And so even if I show up at a party, the host isn't doing anything, no one else is going to do anything. So I think it's led by the host. So how do we get more hosts excited to use the advice to do those kinds of things? Just kind of curious what your thoughts are. Something that we do to create. Does it exist? No.
Yeah. I think that's true. I really believe that parties are only as fun as their hosts. So a really fun person can spend like no money and have an amazing party because they bring the energy and the vision, and someone who's not fun can put a lot of effort and resources to have a party, and if they don't know how to make it fun, it's not going to be memorable. And so I don't know, I think from our little slice of the whole party planning cycle, we like to interact with our users at the beginning, maybe even at a point where they could be inspired by something they see on this site. And I always think like when we're creating, or when we're merchandising, figuring out how many PowerPoint party invites we need, or how many wedding invitations we need in a certain color or whatever. A lot of it is just like map based, like this is what the demand is. And then we also try to really work it. Like for me, it would be amazing to hear from someone I was lost. I was on your site. I was inspired by this invitation to have like a really fun après-ski themed birthday party in January, or to have like some sort of like Scottish bagpipe. I know like something off the wall that grabs someone and inspires them. I think what's important about invitations is that they really are the first like calling part of the event, and the calling invitation get people psyched, and a boring one can be about that dark for the whole event. So I think that from our perspective, we can inspire people to be inspired about the party, to like see the vision, and go the extra mile to make it fun. That's like the best thing we can do from the invitation side, and that's the goal.
Well, I think that, yes, this panel is about partying, and we have lots of good, amazing resources here from Paperless Post to Ghia for your next party. But I think when you're talking about the loneliness epidemic that's happening in America right now, I think we need to remember that like partying doesn't mean like it has to happen at night, or it needs to be over alcohol, or even an NA bev, or on a dance floor. That it can be something as fun as there are a lot of nonprofits that host like for instance, the Food Bank for New York City, you can go to their facilities and do like a food packing day, and you can do that with other people. And it's not, you're all gathering for a purpose, and you can connect with each other. And if you're shy, if you're an introvert, like it's not about like necessarily having to like go up to someone and make a conversation with them, but instead you're doing this activity together, and that alone will just help you connect with others, or like joining like a sports club, or because I think the reason why the stats around people not partying is very sad, in my opinion, is because it means that we're not connecting as humans, and we are pack animals. And I think a lot of the social political issues that we're having right now, not to say that a Pollock is going to save all of us and create world peace, but I do think that when you're not connecting with others, you're not seeing them as human, and when you don't see them as human, the empathy evaporates, and when the empathy evaporates, you have kind of a lot of what we're going through right now. And so whether it's a party with a proper invite and a beverage menu with both alcohol and non-alcoholic beverages like it's just about figuring out ways to gather with other people, however that is, whether it's at a nonprofit and doing food, or some other kind of activity. So
yeah, I think also that relationships are built in person, and parties are a really efficient way to get a lot of people in person at once. And relationships are really important for a lot of reasons. Like for brands, relationships are important with clients and donors, and there's a lot of important constituents that a lot help businesses run. And then for normal people, relationships, the quality of your relationships is generally like one of the most important indicators of happiness and longevity. And like at the end of the day, there was this grand study that was done at Harvard that said that after 85 years from 2,000 participants, the single most important indicator of whether somebody lived long and had a successful life is the quality of their relationships. So I think that it's very real, the importance of getting together with people in person, and I think that it's super different than seeing them online, even though it feels like it's social to write back to someone's story and tell them their kid is really cute. People are more annoying online than they are in real life. They're more preachy, they are more like their life is so perfect, and it's really a lot harder to relate to them than when you see them in real life. They're the same person, but just like a bit more mild and palatable. So I think that if people could realize that they should lower the standards of what's required to have a party, it doesn't need to be some grand event like this one even. You don't need to have like a champagne reception, or it doesn't have to be really expensive. But if you have I think people. For me, it's music and food, but other people have other values. If you can bring to the party what you value, I think that's the way to go.
So I have a couple questions kind of in one. Starting with, as a small brand or a growing As a smaller growing brand, how would you say is it good way to attract people who don't know you, they don't know your brand, but you have a great concept? One. How far in advance should we be planning, and how hard should we be pushing?
Well, we have a rule where we like to send invites out. I'll answer the second question. We like to send invites out somewhere between 2 to 3 weeks in advance, just especially in New York City. I think it definitely varies from market to market. I mean, LA is a whole nother set of parameters around how you can get people to your event. People in LA do not ours. We cancel the very last minute. But yeah, so I would say exactly 2 to 3 weeks in advance for the invite. But then planning, I mean, it all depends on where you're going to have the event. If you are going to have the event in a restaurant, you need to book it out at least 30 days out. If it's just going to be in your house, like you can start planning whenever, depending on what that, if you want to make special collateral or whatnot, the lead time on that is anywhere between 2 to 3 weeks as well. Yeah, so it all depends. We start our branded events about 6 to 8 weeks in advance.
Okay.
We would prefer more time, but that is a luxury. And then remind me of your second question. How you build.
Like how to attract people if they don't know you, but you have a great concept, like how to get the word further than your personal network, other than like ads and word of mouth, and how hard to push.
How hard to push? Well, if it's something that you believe in, you should push as hard as you can and keep on pushing and don't give up. Everything starts with the product. So if the product is compelling, people will be interested in it. And yeah, if you don't have a lot of resources, I think definitely start with your immediate circle. And if it's a good product, they will help you spread the word. Something that I noticed during COVID within the restaurant industry is that there were 2 types of restaurants that survived. It was either the people who had a lot of financial backing, right? Money doesn't solve everything, but it solves a lot. And then the other thing were people with really loyal fan bases. So regulars. And I think that that's a good analogy to apply to your business as well. It's like, yes, get some funding, which will help. But just by having loyal customers, right? It's like, let's start with your friends. They already love you. They're already going to invest in you. And so how do you then convince them that the product is amazing so that they become your best advocates and help you get other loyal fans?
Yeah, I'll bring it to you.
Thank you all. Now I'm getting the feedback too. Sue, you mentioned loneliness. We got 5 founders. Loneliness is a particular experience for founders. I'm curious how you're gathering, how you find community in that loneliness. And we're also looking at a spectrum of 2009, 2018. Just kind of curious how you took on that and found community and found places to gather with others.
That's a deep one. Who am I going to?
So I feel like there's a particular thing around founders being really lonely, but I've found that since starting my company, I can never find any time to be alone. Like I'm never alone. I feel like that's how people describe being a parent as well. They're like, you'll never, be alone for the next 10 years. But I do think there's obviously something that's really isolating in that you can't be friends with your team. You can't do all of these things. There's such an amazing community of founders in New York City. We work out of a co-working space. This is a co-working space. There's just so many people in the building. I feel like it's the density of New York makes it really easy. And through professional career and development, I feel like we benefit from a lot of opportunities together, even if it's called a networking dinner. It's likely that you'll meet one person that you really like there and sort of go from there. So I'm less worried about the founders as I am about the Gen Zs. It's a question that comes up again and again for us, which is how do you meet other people from our customer base at Ghia? And so I do feel like there's a bit of an epidemic of people who don't know where to start.
Well, I think there's a difference between being alone versus feeling lonely. As a leader, I'm to Melanie's point, I'm never alone physically, but I do feel lonely because yeah, it's lonely at the top, as they say. But I'm a big proponent of professional organizations, and membership in general are all-time low for those who are interested in kind of like the demise of the American social fabric. Read Bowling Alone by Robert Putnam. It's a great read, and it talks a lot about bridging capital and social capital. Sorry, that was a total digression, but yes, so membership is down, and so I believe that people should be doubling down on joining associations. There's YPO, which is Young Professionals Association, which is great. And that's a really great way to meet other founders. And those are people who are also interested in meeting other people and wanting to network. I think sometimes, like, you might reach out to another founder, but they might be too busy and they might not be interested in connecting. But if you go to an association, you can almost be guaranteed that all those
run. And I think it's really helpful to get outside of, for me, to get outside of work and to see people that have nothing to do with my job, nothing to do with being a founder, and just see how big and wide and, diverse the world is, and enjoy that, and then just realize that I can get out of it and then go back to my job and be fully in it. So that's it.
I would say for me, like if you're a founder, you're probably pretty passionate about something, and you're probably a part of an industry with other people who are passionate about it. That can be a good access point for meeting people. At Paperless Post, we're a technology company, but we're also a design company, and we're also a New York City company, and we're also there are lots of categories that we're in. For me, the design category has been really like an amazing community to discover. People, because tech is like sexier, I guess, or was when we started, people were like, oh, like, you should do tech event, you're like a tech founder. But I spent a lot of time with people who were like fabric designers or interior decorators or people who are like hardcore design industry people, and I wouldn't have met them if I didn't have my job. So, and it's important to my job. So it can be, you should be able, if you're passionate about what you do, you should find a license that you want to actually bring into your personal life, and that can be a way of combating this.
Right. I think that's a great place to leave us. It sounds like we all just need to commit and party more. Ready to do. And I want to make sure everyone has a chance to enjoy the food and drinks. So thank you so much for coming. And we'll all be here mingling for a bit after this. So
Thank you.